Let's get on to Novak. So he has the situation in Tokyo where it goes pear-shaped.
What a year. I mean, it's just a strange year that he's had.
Yeah. I mean, everything we see of Novak is sort of, there's a pattern there, this period of invincibility, and then it can just get the wobbles. It's like an earthquake. You know, it can just sort of go pear-shaped for a little bit, and there's a meltdown, and there's just a bad day at the office, and you'll never get everyone to warm to him. He'll polarise and people will judge him. I mean, the worst thing, it's not the worst thing to throw a racket. If that's the worst thing, he just shows his behaviour in a different way to Roger and Rafa. So there's always that direct comparison, but I can see why people don't totally warm to him. He won't necessarily have the crowd grothy in his corner the next fortnight, but he's trying to do something that is one of the toughest things to do in tennis.
I mean, a lot of what you mentioned there, I've been openly critical of a lot of stuff that Novak does off the court, but on the court, I am a huge fan of what he does. I mean, he is an incredible tennis player. You've got no Rafa, no Roger, so the two guys that he's trying to get past in the race to the most number of Grand Slams are not in this event. The defending champion is not in this event. He comes in, he's won all 3 slams this year. He's been challenged at times. He come back from 2 sets to love down at times in a couple of those tournaments. But when I talk about it's been a strange year, I mean, 0 Masters 1000s title. So there's been a huge focus around the Grand Slams. Goes to the Olympics after Wimbledon, and for me it was quite a disappointment for me from Novak. He didn't play well in singles, bowed out, loses the bronze medal playoff in singles, and then I thought he did his brand and image a huge disservice by not taking the court in the bronze medal match in the mixed. It obviously worked out well for John Peers and Ash Barty, who take away a bronze medal, but I think that's a terrible look from a guy who is going to go down as a man who holds the most Grand Slams. He's going to break this record. There is no doubt about it in my mind. He's going to, at some point, if it's not the US Open, which I believe it will be, he's going to move to 21 and beyond, but he did himself a real disservice by not finishing the Olympics because... Now, look, I don't know the circumstances, but what seemed like a temper tantrum by not playing the mixed doubles.
Well, it's funny, his team had said, don't play all, and he played everything. Yeah. And then you feel for young Nina Stojanovic, who, a bit like Monica Puig going back to Rio, who might have had her one big moment. She's never going to set the tour alight and win a Grand Slam or any big significant events, and here she's got a chance to win something in her life.
So that for me. And then... So you come into this event and you think, well, who can beat Novak over 5 sets? Now, you look back to last year at the US Open, no one had to beat him. He had a meltdown. And I think at the moment, there's players who are in form. I think you think of a Medvedev. I don't believe that he can beat Novak over 5 sets in New York. I don't, even though he won the Canadian Open, the Masters 1000 event. Yep. I think personally Zverev is probably the best chance just because of the weapons that he has in his game. If he serves on and he sorted that out and he seems to be finding good form.
He's doing a good job to block out a lot of stuff going on off court. It's
rubbish, but it shouldn't. Look, if the stuff is true, it needs to be dealt with, but it just seems to rear its head right when Alexander gets on a little bit of a run.
But it's all sort of corresponded the last 12 months when he's played some great tennis. It seems like he's been able to sort of, okay, I'm dealing with that, but it hasn't really derailed his tennis.
I probably phrase it. I think that if that stuff emerges and it ends up being true, then it should be dealt with in the appropriate way. But I think at the moment it's a little bit of a witch hunt for me, the way it's being presented in the media. And I mean, people can go and do their own research on that and make their own judgments. But I think for Zverev, you're right. He's the biggest threat. I think he's handling things well. He wins in Cincinnati. He wins the gold medal at the Olympic Games.
So that could be the semi-final matchup potentially. So round 1, he's playing the man with 4 names we're going to shorten. We actually got him to pronounce his own name on the show. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Holger Rune. It's Holger Vitas Rotzkos Rune. He's been the world #1 junior this year. He's qualified. He's the best 18-year-old behind Alcaraz. We know the young Spaniard inside the top 100. He's playing great tennis. That's a huge stage for him to go on Arthur Ashe. Then likely a Struff. And then you've got maybe a Nishikori or a Goffin. That could go either way. Karatsev potentially if he has another run. Berrettini, Zverev, and then it's whether it's a Medvedev Tsitsipas on the other side of the draw.
Yeah, I mean... It's just 5 sets against Novak. It's so tough.
Yeah, it's the toughest to solve.
And then this is the thing. But I think also it's a little bit like what we spoke about with Ash is there is pressure on Novak this time. So it's all history. It's that argument of being the greatest. Now, if he goes and moves to 21, people say, well, you know, he's the greatest. If he goes to 21 on the back of winning all 4 in 1 year, then there is no argument for me. I mean, that is ridiculous to do in this day and age with how physical the game is and how tough it is at the top. If he does that, it's next level.
Yep. I just get a feeling, it's only a hunch, and he's the man to beat. I just get a feeling something is going to unravel in New York in the next 2 weeks. And
pressure's a funny thing, BP. Like, if pressure makes people do funny things and storylines pop up. And
these young guys, these next three, Zverev, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, they're hungry. They're getting closer. They're making finals.
Do you know what's funny, though? I actually think that Tsitsipas has come off a little bit since what happened in Paris. I think that affected him quite a lot, and we know he lost his grandmother right before that final. But I just feel like now, I don't know, his game doesn't worry me. When I talk about him going into a matchup against a Novak, it doesn't worry me like it does the likes of Zverev worrying Novak or Medvedev worrying Novak. I don't know. That's just my feeling right now.